Hey all, wild weather here for liveweathervlogs.com. Friday evening going toward midnight here. Uh, Low pressure lifting out, moving north-northeast. No blocking going on up here. The storm is allowed to just mosey on up. But here we are. Look, the subtropical jet. What a fetch coming all the way from the Yucatan Peninsula all the way up the east coast. A fire hose of moisture that came through the Philadelphia region this afternoon, early morning rather, up to about 10 o'clock with some heavy rain and even some embedded thunderstorms. The warm air just rolling up the east coast off the subtropical jet, overwhelming the pattern, causing temperatures to reach 60 degrees in Philadelphia and almost, well, definitely into the mid 60s down here in Delaware. Amazing stuff. The colder air, it's modified Pacific air coming in off of 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gust as a storm departs. Fast moving system, quick pressure rises, so therefore you're going from low pressure to high pressure, and you get the wind gradient. And as quickly as the wind came in, as quickly as it will leave, it's a very fast moving flow of storms coming handing off the subtropical jet, and here comes the northern jet now digging in with a storm system here that we'll keep our eyes on for maybe some snow shower activity and snow flurries tomorrow night. Very strong flow still coming in off the Pacific, but here we get an idea that maybe there's ridging starting to take place off the west coast, which could eventually move toward the west coast and cause a rather deep trough along the east coast. Remember, you really don't need a true negative NAO to really get big storms going and strong undulations in the jet stream, but it does help to lock in cold air for a snowstorm. Um, Next storm coming up late next week looks to be a storm that comes down in this fashion here and then rides up the east coast, probably passing in this general vicinity. And if the NAO were negative, maybe it would be off the coast and we'd be talking about a snowstorm for next weekend. But odds are that it's probably going to be a rainstorm with a storm coming up in this fashion right up along the coast. Very similar to what we were seeing today, but maybe not quite as far to the west. We'll see what happens. In any case, we're going to put this into motion again. Modified Pacific air flowing in behind this Pacific front that's moved through. Secondary front will come through tomorrow night with somewhat colder air, temperatures going into the 41 to 42 range on Monday, but the cold air doesn't have any staying power. The NAO is not blocking. The cold air leaves and more warming comes out of the southwest. So that's kind of where we are. Currently, we'll take a look at some temperatures. All of this presented to you by hamweather.com. 45 and 46 degrees on 40 and 35 mile per hour winds out of the west northwest. Wow, January 27th, and you're saying that's pretty impressive in itself. You can see the cold air really isn't all that cold behind the front. 34 degrees right now in Green Bay is just incredibly warm still for this time of the year in January. It could easily be below zero out here, folks. Uh, Modestly cold out here. This is not anything to really sneeze at this time of the year. Um, and here comes the next warming punch coming up in front of, in right in along in tandem with the a little clipper system coming through, and maybe we'll get some snow and rain shower activity coming through in the Philadelphia and north and west coming tomorrow night. Kind of looks weak down in here, maybe a little more widespread up in here. We'll keep an eye on this tomorrow night. Go to some ensembles. The PNA is positive. This could cause a East Coast trough. We'll see what happens. Uh, Usually when it's positive, you get East Coast trough, and maybe we thread a needle with a storm coming up later in February, in the February 5th to 12th range. We'll see how that goes. NEO is not helping at all. It is positive, and many of the members stay positive, so cold air will not lock into place very well. And the AO is going toward positive again, and this doesn't bear well as well. So we'll see what the models are saying. Here's the latest run of the GFS. Again, cold shots come down. Here's that storm for next weekend, mainly a rain producer. The cold air comes behind it. If it comes in quick enough, the rain can change to snow. And you get the idea that the GFS wants to play an idea with maybe a trough along the East Coast with storms coming up the East Coast and maybe some cold air in place we'll see how that runs. Here's your weekend storm next weekend. Mainly rain, but the cold air comes in quick enough. Secondary low develops. Maybe we get some snow in the back end, but that's all pure speculation. And then we'll see what happens here. Here's the sorry, I was going to show you the Euro version of it. There it is. This is before next Friday. Storm system here on the coast. Here's your rain snow line, this red line here. It's close to the Lehigh Valley, out to about Harrisburg and Lancaster. We'll see how that pans out or not. Here's the same storm system here, and your 540 line here will be just north and west of Philadelphia. So we'll keep an eye on that for next weekend. In the meantime, it looks like it's going to just continue with this so-so cold air. The warming is more profound, and the cold shots, they come down, and it's very transient. They come down, they bounce back up, and the cold shots that do come just barely get your temperatures back to where they should be for this time of the year, in the 39 to 40 degree range, and nothing at all winter-like about it. I did some looking back, and I was thinking about the solar storms that we've been hitting the Earth here over the last few days. Some of the strongest solar storms we've seen hitting the Earth since late 2005, and I looked at 2006 in the January, and look at the temperatures here. 2006 in January, 40s, 50s. There's a day at 36 normal, 40s, 60. Look at that, 50, 53, 58, 60. Normal days somewhat here. Then it's right back to 50, 64. This really looks a lot like what's going on this year, so it's just going to be interesting to see what happens when we get into February. Again, this is a year where a solar storm hit the Earth, and does this have any bearing on anything? No, it's just something I'd like to watch and be interested in. But as you can see, the temperatures are not far off from what we're looking at right now this year. So 2012 looks an awful lot like January 2006. So what happened in February 2006, you ask? Well, February began off warm, and this kind of indeed looks like where we're headed. We'll see about the 60-62 in the 4th, which is possible if that storm were to cut inland. We could see another 60-degree day, which is very possible. So right here, and this is where I'm going to hold out some hope here, that maybe I'm reaching for straws, maybe I'm not, but the last time we had a solar storm in late 2005, January is looking an awful lot like that year, and look what happened on February 12th, 2006. A 12-inch snowstorm hit, and then after that, well, we went back to this warm 60, 61. It got colder in time, but just interesting to watch. We'll keep an eye on it, and well, for snow lovers, it was a one-shot deal that February, because once March rolled around, as you can see, winter ended abruptly. So what are we saying here? Well, we'll play around with the solar storm idea, reaching for straws, looking for that one snowstorm to hit us in February, and I still think it could happen in mid-February. Certainly could still be that one storm and done type of thing, but we'll see. We'll grasp for straws for the time being. In the meantime, just nothing real exciting in terms of the cold. The cold will come, it will leave, and kind of that's where we are, and that's where we're headed. Look for temperatures next week to be mainly in the 50s after one cold day, which is Monday. If you call 41, 42 degrees cold for January the 30th. In February, we'll see what happens next weekend. My idea is the storm is probably going to cut in like this. So it may be another case where this storm that comes up next weekend may look very similar to the one that came through today. More severe weather is very likely across the southeastern states, with a strong subtropical jet and northern jet screaming off to the north. Got a lot of twisting with winds with height. So severe weather season looks like it's going to kick off early, like it never ended anyway. So this is Wild Weather here for LiveWeatherBlogs.com. You all have a great night and a great weekend too. I'll be around. Been busy. Have a great night all.